What is happening, everybody? It's the Miami Football Fanatic here again. Happy to have you guys back here for another video. And in today's video, I want to go over the whole Jarvis Landry situation and how everything has transpired over the past couple of months and season's end, and just give my opinion on the whole deal, and where I think Jarvis is going to be playing next season, with him being on the trade market now. So in my opinion, this whole Jarvis Landry contract situation has been a giant mess since before this past season even began. As a massive fan of Juice since his rookie year, this past week has been incredibly frustrating to go through. The handling of the situation by the Dolphins brass has been incredibly idiotic and just and hard to go through. And Jarvis's agent hasn't helped matters. The guy's been incredibly stupid on Twitter, just saying the dumbest stuff, like comparing Jarvis to Devontae Adams, and just pulling crap out of left field and just saying crap that hasn't helped the whole process. So yeah, Landry's resume the past 4 years, it really does speak for itself, and nobody on the team deserved the deal more than Jarvis did entering this past season. His resume just really does speak for itself. He never missed a game in 4 years, and that's something that everyone just seems to forget. Durability is just a huge asset to have in the league, and everyone just, like I said, just forgets that he played every single game this past 4 years. He's played through pain consistently, and he just continued to perform. There's no denying his talent. The guy is truly incredible. He's got incredible hands, really drop passes. He played with the physicality and toughness that you rarely see in today's game. During free agency last year, the Dolphins were preaching this whole new Miami motto, and they were also promoting the idea that they'd like to re-sign their own key players and to not let them free to the open market. We saw Kiko Alonso get a new deal. We saw Andre Branch get a new deal, and Kenny Stills, another wide receiver, was re-signed. Now, all three of these guys, to an extent, did deserve their new deals, but in true Dolphins fashion, they failed to take care of our most talented offensive player on the team, and a guy who should have been a Dolphin for life and never should have hit the open market or the trade market like he is now. And just a player that has been a stand-up human being and professional throughout his career, and just showing up for all of the off-season activities and never complaining once. Not complaining one bit about his contract, and the only thing he did say is that he wouldn't negotiate his contract after week 1, and that's fair. Now I know that he did have a few incidents this year and was tossed from the last Buffalo game of the season for getting into it with the Bills players. But you can't use that one little isolated mishap to define his Dolphins career. And just, in all honesty, shame on any Dolphins fan who has pointed the finger and used that one Bills game to label him as a no-good hothead and distraction to the team. And don't kid yourself when you pronounce him to be a slow, not explosive player who doesn't make big plays and takes, plays to the house, and only averaged 8.8 yards per catch this past season. You guys know that average was a result of our absolutely horrid offense that never got it going, and Jay Cutler, the king of all bums, being our starting quarterback. He was a league leader in yards after the catch last year during the 2016 season, and was one of the best in that regard this year too. If that doesn't scream playmaker, then I don't know what does. I mean, it's incredibly important for a wide receiver to make plays after the catch, and no one's done it better than Jarvis over the past 4 years, and that's just something that people just completely overlook. But the NFL is a what have you done for me lately league, and society is incredibly similar. So I'm just going to move on to the situation at hand and just go on over what's transpired over the past couple of months. So towards the end of the season, around mid-December, all parties involved, including the Dolphins, were confident that a deal was going to get done before the conclusion of the season. All signs were pointing to something getting done and Jarvis not getting a sniff on the open market. The narrative in mid-December was that the Dolphins were happy with his professionalism and that he showed during the off-season, and he had done everything asked of him during the season in terms of showing more attention to detail, showing more attention to the playbook and his routes, and doing things the right way. But as soon as the Bills incident happened, all those good vibes seemed to go out the window, and Gase went as far to say that it was an embarrassment and didn't even attempt to defend Jarvis in that situation. The Bills players were clearly going after Jarvis, and who knows what they were saying to him, especially with the bad blood with the Aaron Williams injury, the safety. But, Gase didn't even attempt to defend the best player on the team. So heading into the 2018 offseason, everybody had a bad taste in their mouth, and Jarvis was quoted at the Pro Bowl saying that he was feeling disrespected what the Finns had offered and how they were handling his contract and the negotiation process. So things were going downhill from there. In the weeks leading up to the Combine, there was rumblings of positive negotiations, but it seemed like they were separated by a measly $1 or $2 million. And they just couldn't get a deal done. And Jarvis was signed to the franchise tag, paying him around $16 million for the coming season, which is just, in true Dolphins fashion, just completely idiotic. The Finns did allegedly offer him $14 million a year, but somehow, they wouldn't offer him $14 million a year, but somehow they're willing to pay him $16 million. It just shows the warped thinking of Tannenbaum and Gase. I really don't think that Greer plays a big part in player negotiations. I think that he's strictly just in charge of the draft and the 53-man roster. I really think that Tannenbaum and Gase are making all these calls in regards to negotiations with Jarvis. I really do think that if Chris Greer was more involved with the process, that a deal definitely would have got done. Chris Greer, when Jarvis was drafted, was the biggest fan of him and gave the biggest endorsement. He was defending his 40 time and saying that you should be relying on his game tape and not worrying about the 4.77, and just how happy he was that they got a player of Landry's caliber. So I think that he's definitely been on Landry's side the past 4 years. I don't know if maybe the incident swayed him, the Bills incident, but I think that if Chris Greer was more involved with these negotiations, a deal with Jarvis definitely would have got done. I think it definitely would have got done after his third season. But with Tannenbaum and Gase not being connected to Landry, drafting him, because it was Dennis Hickey and Chris Greer under Hickey drafting Landry. But I think that if Gase was, drafted him himself, he would have more of a connection with Landry. But that simply isn't the case, so that's where we see the situation now. But yeah, so now Landry, he's on the trade market, and I really think he's going to have a big market. I think there's a number of teams out there that could really use him. For some reason, the Ravens have been connected to him. For most of this process, they were connected to him last season too. At the moment, they've only got $10 million in cash space, which is more than us at the moment. But they're gonna have to make some moves to bring on Landry, especially if they're gonna pay him the franchise tag or sign him to a long-term deal. He wants at least $60 million, so Baltimore's definitely gonna have to fork over that cash. So I'm not really sure how that's gonna happen with Baltimore, but for some reason, a lot of sources and guys who are connected to both teams are saying that Baltimore is one of the top teams interested. Another team who I could really see him going to, who should be interested, is the 49ers. I think that he'd work perfectly with Jimmy Garoppolo. He's a perfect player for the offense and just what Jimmy Garoppolo likes to do as a quarterback. We saw the way he used Marquise Godwin and Trent Taylor over the middle of the field. I think that Jarvis would just take his game to a whole new level playing with a quarterback of Garoppolo's caliber. So, the 49ers definitely should be in the market for him. Another team is the Titans. I don't know why, because they did draft 2 wide receivers last year, but obviously when a player of Landry's caliber hits the open market, you're going to have many teams interested. So the Titans have dipped their hat in the the Landry sweepstakes. Another team who I think makes the most sense is the Browns. I think they've got 2 or 3 second round picks, so they've got plenty of capital to give up, and they whoever they bring in at quarterback, there isn't more of a quarterback friendly receiver than Landry. I mean, the guy just makes so many plays. He's a great security blanket for any quarterback. Always catching on third down, making those critical catches. So Landry would be perfect for whoever they have at quarterback, and the Browns definitely have all those picks to give away, and it would really make an impact on their 2018 draft class. Another major player who has been right up there with the Ravens is the Bears, and they are probably the most wide receiver hungry team in the league. I mean, they had absolutely nothing last year. Poor Mitchell Trubisky, he had nothing to work with, and Landry would just be an awesome pairing with Trubisky. Similar to any quarterback, like I said, just helped tremendously with Trubisky's development, and just Landry's ability and his skills just work well with any quarterback in the league. So he'd work awesome with the Bears, especially with Matt Nagy coming in. He's a incredibly creative offensive mind coming over from the Kansas City Chiefs. So Landry would be perfect for the Bears. Not sure what they're willing to give up. At the moment, it seems like it's going to be a second or a third round pick. The most sense, like I said, is the Browns, because they have so many second round picks. So it wouldn't really make a difference, and they're getting an awesome, Pro Bowl caliber player, and not giving up too much. But even though second and third round picks are incredibly valuable, I really think the Browns can afford to give it up. But yeah, the Bears are another team. Another NFC team who I think should be interested in Landry is the Cowboys. He'd be perfect with Dak Prescott. Similar to Jimmy Garoppolo, Dak Prescott. Prescott he loves those underneath catches, those catches through the middle of the field. He loves using guys like Cole Beasley and Jason Witten, and Landry would just be absolutely perfect. Because Prescott, he really isn't much of a downfield thrower. Maybe he'll develop that more of his career, like how Tannehill has. But you couldn't think of a much better team for Landry to go to than the Cowboys, and that would give them the ability to either trade or release Des Bryant, as Landry's a much younger receiver at 25, and he fits much better with Prescott and the Cowboys offense. I mean, Des Bryant's ability has diminished a bit over the past couple of seasons. I mean, he doesn't separate much at all, and his run after the catch ability is nowhere to be seen. Maybe that's due to not playing with Tony Romo now, but Jarvis Landry would be an awesome replacement for Des Bryant, and it'd be cheaper than Des Bryant. I think Des Bryant's owed like 17 mil or something this year, so Landry would be absolutely perfect for the Cowboys. So that's most of the teams there. I think I ran off about 5 teams, but there should be many more teams interested, but we're not hearing much about it. And yeah, I'm sure at least half the teams in the league are interested in Landry. Maybe even more than that, like 20 teams. But it really is a shame that I'm not going to see him in a Dolphins uniform for the 2018 season. Going to be playing for a different team, hopefully in the NFC, so we don't see him as much playing against AFC opponents. But it's the end of an era. It's the end of a Jarvis Juice Landry era. And I'm hoping he goes to a great situation, because he really does deserve it. He's just been the ultimate team player the past 4 seasons, and professional. So Jarvis really does deserve nothing but the best, especially with the way Tannenbaum and Gase, and I guess you could say Greer, has treated him the last year and a half. So wishing nothing but the best for Landry, and really hoping that we can get something great in return. A second round pick would just be absolutely awesome. A third round pick, I'm not really big on that, but if that's what we're going to get. But what I'm really hearing lately is that we could be using like Landry to to move up further in the draft to really get our quarterback of the future or a really impactful player. But if we're going to move up into the top 10 or the top 5, it really should be a quarterback. I don't really see any point moving up if we're not going to take a QB. At pick 11, there's a number of impactful players we can grab. So maybe we're waiting for the 28th of April to use Landry to move up in the draft. But if that happens, that probably would be a good move too. But hoping that we give something great in return, because Landry's just been an awesome player, a Pro Bowler the last 2 years, and really would hate to get nothing back for a great player. I mean, we only got a 4th rounder back for J.J., and I don't want to see the team repeating that. We've really got to get awesome capital back for Juice Landry. Alrighty, guys, that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments section if you completely disagree. But yeah, just as a real shame. As always, fins up, baby.